A very good evening to all of you. I am Prakhar Garg and I'm the Program Director at TCS ION Channel and will be your host for today's webinar. On behalf of TCS ION, I welcome you all to the webinar on Design Your Future for Science Students. In today's webinar, we'll talk about what career options are available to students who have taken PCB or PCM streams. It seems fairly straightforward, isn't it? But then there is more that meets the eye. Because choosing a subject is just an entry point into a wide array of careers, and it means not that you have chosen one career, one streams, you cannot enter the other field. Because jobs have changed significantly in last 10 to 20 years with influx of technology, and that is across sector. See, if you take an example of healthcare, the whole sector is using devices and technologies in every field, in every area. And thus have a significant interaction with the technology experts. While at the same time, given the healthcare sector and hospitals, we would still be needing doctors. In fact, the job has changed so much, technology has come in so much that today we have robots doing medical surgeries. There are a lot of eye surgeries that are being done by robots. Expert doctors are there to guide them. Soon we might be noticing more surgeries being done by robots. All of these are possible for the future professionals once you have entered into the PCB stream to get into the good understanding of human body, or PCM stream to get good understanding of technology. That is where today's session is going to be really interesting, because while we talk something about the existing careers that are there, the more known careers, the more conventional careers, we'll also talk about what new age options, what new age approaches and opportunities are there for students who have taken or plan to take science. To get into an established career as doctor or engineer, you need some 5 to 8 years, even when you are in class 12th. So we feel that is a very long time to take a decision straight away from now. And therefore, here we'll discuss about taking the first step, the initial step of getting into a good stream and then again choosing the appropriate career paths for yourself. Now, without further ado, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce our guest speaker today, Mr. John Thomas. John is a senior counselor and mentor trainer at iDream Career. He is also lead for growth and learning in IDC. IDC is our very valued partner and has been helping out us, and we have been creating a very important and beautiful tool that is Compass, TCS ION Compass, which has come out recently. So iDream Career is the largest unbiased career counseling venture that works with 2.5 million students every year. iDream Career currently works with over 73,000 schools across India and Middle East, apart from working with 12 state governments including Delhi, Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, Rajasthan, Karnataka, amongst others. iDream Careers works as on-guard force for various international agencies such as UNDP, UNICEF, Center Square Foundation, and more, helping provide quality career guidance to unprivileged students. John is a senior counselor, mentor, trainer, and lead growth and learning in iDream Career. John is having an experience of over 11 years in learning and development with over 6 years dedicated to career counseling. Though he studied to become a chef, his own confusion while choosing the right career led to work in training and learning in firms like Wipro. Post this, he wanted to shift his focus on schools, where he felt that is where the most impact could he make in helping young adults to become employable and contributing members of the society. He has been spearheading counseling with character development programs with some of the most prestigious schools across the country. We welcome you, John. It is an honor to have you here with us. So let us now listen to John, who will guide us through how to look into these new age careers and how to plan for them. Over to you, John.
Thank you.
So now moving on to the PCB part of our webinar. So PCB is generally referred to as somewhere only for doctors and medical professionals. But what I feel, it doesn't necessarily mean that, because physics open other options to you, just like as you mentioned in the previous section as well. Astrophysicist is there, and then chemistry gives us theoretical chemistry, theoretical physics options are there as well. Even biochemistry options are there. So this means, what I feel is, this open a lot of options, a lot of large variety of career options are available. So maybe you can take us through all those career options and elaborate more on them.
Sure. All right. So moving on to physics, chemistry, and bio, in continuation to what Prakhar had said, courses with chemistry. Uh, of course, it sounds very boring when you say theoretical chemistry, but where all you can see it being applied, I would say that any student, if you check all the FMCG products in your own house, starting from toothpaste to the items that are there, starting from shower gel to toothpaste to perfumes, deodorants, soaps, and so on. All of these are basically the offset of someone who's working in chemical engineering who understands chemistry very well. So yeah, there are many interesting options, and if you can think about the scope in FMCG, you would know that even chemical engineering does open up a lot of doors for you. Now, why am I talking about those areas in bio? Because there are certain parts of understanding how does those chemicals impact, human skin to animal skin to any organism, and how it could be used there is a very important part. And like Prakhar rightly mentioned, PCB is not only about medical. Unfortunately, it's called the medical stream, but it does grave injustice to the number of options available beyond medical sciences also. Now, I directly want to jump to first medical sciences and its allied courses. Like all of you might have already known that MBBS, dentistry, veterinary science take the same entrance exam called NEET. Uh, Under allied medical courses, you have Ayush, which is Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, homeopathy, yoga, and naturopathy. So each of these courses have a separate, course mentioned, like BAMS, which is for Ayurveda, Unani is BUMS, BHMS is homeopathy, and naturopathy and yoga is a BNYS course. Uh, Unlike engineering, you have about 9.5 lakh students to 10 lakh students sitting for the JEE exam. For the NEET exam, you have almost 15 lakh students taking the NEET exam every year. However, previously there were only 56,000 seats. There have been additionally another 20,000 seats added recently. So that makes it about 76 to 77,000 seats. However, you still have about 15 lakh students who take that exam, meaning which, about 3 lakh students or 14.27 lakh students will not get a seat, or 14.23 lakh students will not get a seat in medicine at all. Sorry, I hear a little bit of background noise. Okay. So, which is why it becomes very important for students who are wanting to pursue medicine to keep a plan B and plan C in place. It becomes very important to start building a plan A, B, and C right now. If I don't get into this seat, and that goes for PCM students also, people who are looking at engineering as well. Please look at, if I don't get this course, what is my next best course to take? So often I do tell aspiring doctors that while MBBS is a 5.5 year course, which is 5 years of your degree and 6 months of mandatory rural internship, some of you who want to become oncologists, cardiosurgeons will have to pursue 3 years of masters and 2 years of super specialization as well, which is almost about 10.5 years of study. And your education will not end there because medical science is always evolving. I know very senior doctors who have gone back to study courses also. So if you're looking at medical sciences as a course, MBBS especially, your learning will never end. Meaning which you need to be a person who's always open and always enjoys learning. Uh, Having said that, MBBS students will also have to keep in mind that with the same entrance exam, while dentistry and veterinary science are backup options, there are some good parts to pursuing dentistry and veterinary science as well. While people who are working with MBBS usually will start off in hospitals working through night shifts in the emergency ward, dentists have a golden opportunity to never work night shifts because dental emergencies don't happen at night. Usually, dentists have a very stringent time limit as to when they function or when they work. So usually, dentists work during the day. So that could be a good part to someone who wants to become a doctor but does not want to give night shifts. Veterinary science, on the other hand, I think every one of you who have pets would know the joy of actually working with animals. I personally can tell you that all the vets I know are probably the happiest people who are working in the medical sciences field. So anyone who's interested to work with animals, you can, you will not only be working in private practice, you can also have the opportunity of working with the armed forces. You can work with the police services as well, because you have horses, dogs that are being trained there. So you need vets there as well. And of course, given that more and more people are actually adopting animals right now, the need for veterinary doctors are growing higher. Uh, and having said that, allied medical courses also, there are people who are coming all across the world to India to get treated via our Ayurvedic systems. So these are also courses that have been propagated and are growing really really fast. So students who are looking at MBBS can look at these also as backup options. So if you can't, in continuation to what I said on day one, if I can't find one pathway to a career, I can find another pathway. So if you want to work with helping people or helping animals, uh, curing them, there are many ways to do it. You can also become a physiotherapist or a nurse as well. For physiotherapy, the entrance exam is called AIP TET, though only 30 to 40% of colleges in India take that exam. Most of the other ones have their own entrance tests as well. BSc nursing usually will look between your class 12 marks. Some colleges might have an entrance test too, but usually they look at your 12th marks. So that also has a lot of options, because any hospital will hire more number of nurses than they hire doctors. So the number of opportunities available are also really huge. Uh, Categorically speaking about physiotherapy, I know physiotherapists who are working with sports teams who perhaps are earning a little higher than a lot of our doctors I know as well. So if you're looking at the IPL, I'm sure every club has a team of physiotherapists that are working with those players. And given that it's a very specialized field in science, there are specialization areas that one can pursue and one can see themselves working in a very very interesting space. Nutrition and dietetics, not very common course to find in BSc, but you will find nutrition under the heading home sciences. So you can also pursue this as an option. Hospitals hire nutrition and dietetics experts. A lot of gyms today also hire that. You have gyms which are international, like Goals and stuff. They have a team of people who help people with working out and other nutritional aspects. Uh, you have nutritionists who are working in schools as well nowadays. They also work as consultants as well in the public health sector. So there are many varieties of places that you can see yourself working in. The good news is, again, nutrition and dietetics under home sciences usually comes under the admission is based on your class 12 marks. So while you're preparing for entrance exams, it's very important to focus on your 12th marks as well. I know a lot of students who think that I'm preparing for NEET, so I don't need to worry about whether I'm getting an 80 or a 90 in my 12th boards. If you don't get the NEET exam, which is, you only have 77,000 seats, and even in those 77,000 seats, there are very few limited seats which are actually government subsidized. Some of these medical courses are really expensive courses to go for. So you'll have to really think about your finances as well if you're choosing to pursue this area. And of course, there are other options available to you as well, should you choose them. Some of the top medical colleges in India, while Banaras Hindu gives you a course in Ayurveda as well, you have the Indian Institute of Ayurvedic Pharmaceutical Sciences in Jamnagar in Gujarat. You have Government Ashtang Ayurvedic College in Indore. I think the MBBS courses I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with. AIMS New Delhi Armed Forces Medical College, and uh, you know I've seen a lot of students have this misconception that to join the army as a doctor you have to go through AFMC Pune, which is not true. Though it would be great if you can go through this college because it's a fantastic college, but you can still pursue that career in the armed forces through a different medical college as well. That's still open. Jipma Pondicherry, St. John's, Bangalore, Maulana Azad, DY Patil in Pune, Grant Medical College, Madras Medical College, Ramaya in Bangalore, all are pretty good colleges that you can aspire to get into. Though you will have to be open to traveling to a different place if you're taking the NEET exam, because basis your ranking is where you will get options. Uh, so it's best to for students to identify what were the cutoffs or what were the ranking cutoffs that were taken for these colleges for this year, and thereby it'll give you an idea as to what type of preparation you want to do if you want to get into some of these top colleges next year. Uh, Moving on to a very different space, while medical sciences are basically applied sciences, agriculture falls under the space of research. Uh, Now, before I start off with this career, I know that the picture does not do justice to the career, because Oftentimes, student thinks that if I am working in agriculture, I will be tilling and sowing the land, which is not true. You will be working as a consultant, as a researcher. It works best if you have your own farm as well. You can definitely use that knowledge. I know, people who are working in agriculture. Uh, I know gentleman who is the sole provider for potatoes for McDonald's outlets between Jharkhand and Punjab. Uh, he used his knowledge in horticulture and agricultural sciences to be able to work with specialized potatoes, because the potatoes that you get in your French fries from some of these outlets are not the potatoes that you will get in your bazaar. These are specialized potatoes that have also have a patent as well. In fact, if you heard about Lay's chips, the Lay's company, the Frito-Lay company also has its own patented potato. You can't grow it in your own backyard. So they have something called contract farming, where the company comes to you and says that, hey, if you can grow this type of potato in this quantity by this time, I will pay you this amount of money, which is very different from usually how farmers function. Because normally a lot of farmers, they function in this way, that I'll grow my crop, and depending on what the crop outcome is, I will decide at what cost I want to sell it at. In contract farming, you already know who your buyer is. And thanks to some efforts of some ex engineers who have come back and worked in this space, they have created systems like Amazon, where the buyer and the seller can come directly in contact with each other. Uh, in agriculture, if any of you are thinking what is the scope for it, I would say healthcare, agriculture, and education will never be impacted by things like recessions. They are far more inelastic in nature. They always have a high demand, because people who always need food, always will need healthcare, always will need education. Though education is slightly impacted by the pandemic right now, but it's not mean that it stopped. I mean, schools and colleges have not stopped; they're still functioning. So I would say that agriculture in India has 4 times the number of scope or a number of opportunities as its nearest competitor, hands down. India also has the highest number of agricultural universities across the world. You have about 60 universities, or 59 to 60 universities that fall under the same banner called ICAR. And the major areas that you'd be studying is agriculture, horticulture in BSc, agronomy and soil agronomy usually is taught to you at the masters. Forestry is usually a BSc course and an MSc course as well. Food technology, you can go in from any area. The common entrance exams for most of these courses will be either ICAR. Banaras Hindu has its own test called BHU UET. Karnataka has KCET. Maharashtra has MHCET. Jharkhand has JCECE. Telangana has TSEAMCET. So there will be some state level entrance exams that you can go for as well. And the good news is both PCM and PCB students can go for this. Uh, Under ICAR, you have two types of papers. Stream 1 is for PCM students, physics, chemistry, and maths, and stream 2 is for physics, chemistry, and bio students. So even if you did not take bio in 11th and 12th, you can still pursue agriculture as a course. Uh, and of course, through that, it could keep some options open for you as well. You can pursue a food technology post that, go into food processing sciences. If you look at companies like Nestle or Amul, they have so many different products that you would see in your nearest grocery or kirana store, right? Starting from chai till Maggie, you have so many different products. And most of these products, there has to be someone to decide what is the shelf life going to be, what kind of packaging should you use, what type of masalas may ensure, or what mix of masalas will ensure there is an identical taste. So no matter where you buy your packet of Maggie from, the magic masala will always taste the same, right? So food technology is one area that I've seen. There are fantastic colleges like CFTRI Mysore, and most of these food tech courses uh, usually boast of 100% placement, because companies like Nestle and Amul and stuff, they kind of hire you in droves. Uh, Now coming back to agro, uh, you will be working as a consultant. You can work with state governments as well, because there are certain schemes where farmers can bring a soil sample to an office. The office can check the soil sample and decide what type of growth you can do. Sometimes if you are interested in places like working in organic farming, even for that there is stringent certifications programs where you have to start growing the crop for at least 3 years before you get a commercial organic farming license. So for a lot of these areas, there are consultants required for a lot of these farmers. So you could work in those spaces too. So like I said, usually the kind of careers that you will be getting into is research. Uh, some of the people I know who are working in this space are working on. They don't sound very interesting, but the areas that they work are very important. So this friend of mine who was saying that I work to prevent vector diseases in potatoes. So there are a lot of vector diseases that could impact potatoes. And tomorrow, if your potato supply is shut or your onion supply is shut, you know how many dishes in India cannot be made because of non-availability of potato, onions, and other vegetables. So while it's not a very glamorized area, if some of these guys don't do the research, we might have certain vegetables and fruits that might go extinct as well. So some of very important areas. Some of these guys work in conservation as well. Forestry is a subset of that. You can study a BSc forestry as well. And some of you who want to work in forestry sciences can study a BSc forestry or any bachelor's in sciences and go and pursue a career in Indian forest services. It's under the civil services as well, but you'll only have to complete your graduation for that. There are some other courses in life sciences research, starting from biotechnology. I'll take you through each one of them. Uh, Biotechnology has two types of courses available: a BSc Biotech and a BTech Biotech. A BSc Biotech is available to PCB students. It's a 3-year BSc course. A BTech Biotech is a 4-year course. It's only available to if you have mathematics as well, along with physics and chemistry. Bio is not a mandate for most of the BTech courses that I know. But having said that, if you ask what has more value, what has more scope, usually I've seen the BTech 4-year BTech course in biotechnology work out better. Usually, biotech is a research-based science. The 4 areas that you could do research primarily in is red biotech, which is healthcare, blue biotech, which is marine sciences, white, which is in sustainability and environmental sciences, and green, which is in agriculture. These are the 4 major areas that biotechnologists do or focus their research on. Now, after that, you can go and further subdivide or specialize in specific segments. So you can pursue a bachelor's in biotechnology right now, do your master's in a certain area that you want to see yourself working in. I've seen students who have studied microbiology in graduation and then go and study biotechnology in master's and then pursued a PhD in biochemistry because they wanted to work in cancer research and so on. So microbiology is basically the study of science of microbes. A very important space. I think all of you who are waiting to hear when the vaccine will be available in India and how soon can we actually get back to normal and stuff. People who are working in biotech and microbiology are essential to the research in vaccines. I think microbiology is probably, I've mistakenly put it twice out here, but that's how important it is. Zoology and botany are usually BSc courses. There is no course called BSc biology, so you either can decide whether you want to work with plants or you want to work with animals, and you can choose a BSc or be zoology or botany. Most of the courses for zoology and botany will look for your class 12 marks. Microbiology, interestingly, what I've seen is, colleges like Xavier's in Calcutta, they have a criteria for physics, chemistry, maths, and bio. So if you want microbio, you will have to keep maths and bio together. So that's a pressure cooker option also for some people. In fact, for bioinformatics as well, you will also need mathematics too. Bioinformatics is helping with research. Usually they run simulations on research as well. So to give you an example, if I switch off my laptop right now and I switch it on again, all the data that I have saved on it will come back on, right? But if I go to the bio lab and I switch off the main power supply to the bio lab, there'll be thousands of samples that get destroyed because they require certain temperature, certain pressure at which they will survive. So there is someone who needs to keep tab of all of that. There's people who actually analyze previous research as well. So bioinformatics helps you with analyzing someone else's research. So for example, today, if I want to, extend the life span of a loaf of bread, because bread gets bad really fast depending on how much of moisture and stuff you have. Let's say if I want to solve a problem in hunger, where I don't want bread to go bad very fast, I'll have to first do research on how soon will the bread go bad, and how what kind of conditions will be required so that the bread is actually lasting longer. Now, should I actually wait for 7 days to figure that out myself? Or can I go online and check out if someone else has done some research around it so that can help me with my research as well? So, bioinformatics helps you with those elements as well, with simulations on research too. Uh, Now, for BTech Biotech and BSc Biotech, there might be colleges that will look for an entrance test. Some of them will consider the JEE marks, some of them will consider their own entrance exams. So, there is no national level entrance exam that everybody agrees to for biotechnology, but you can take in the JEE, you can take in, depending on the college you want to apply for, you can take in various entrance exams for that. Forensic sciences, not a very popular option 10 years ago in India, but slowly we're starting to understand how important forensic sciences is. There were some high profile cases that some of us might have heard about on the news a couple of years ago, which made us to understand, why it is important to actually handle forensic evidence, in the right manner. Uh, Usually, students with a background in MBBS can also go into forensic sciences. You can pursue a BSc Forensic Sciences as well, though it's not very easily available. It's not a very common course. There's a handful of courses in India that colleges in India that give it to you in bachelor's, but you can pursue it in master's as well. Pharmacology is the study of making medicines. You can study a PharmD or a B Pharma course as well. Preferably, if you have mathematics too, it helps you with research in medicine because a lot of calculations go behind how a certain medicine or how a certain pill works. In fact, I've seen companies like Samsung work on smart pills that could actually go into your body and communicate with your cell phone and tell you when the next pill is supposed to be taken, what is the kind of dosage that was required to be administered to your body. So, some of you who want to go and study or work in medical sciences did not get a seat in MBBS, do not want to pursue other areas. You can still study these areas and research and still find yourselves working in medical sciences in some sense. You might not be dealing with patients directly, but you will still be saving lives in some sense or the other. So, I feel that this is not any less important because while doctors are the ones who are actually administering the medicines, doing the surgeries, there has to be someone who's actually doing research on the machinery used, like Prakhar had said in the beginning as well. Some of you who are interested in working in life sciences or medical sciences, but are more interested in PCM, can look at areas like biomedical engineering as well. You guys will be responsible for the kind of equipment that people use in surgeries, in healthcare. Some of you could be working in making the right kind of pill or the right kind of cure to a certain disease as well. So there are many ways to be able to go ahead and work in spaces that you've always wanted to work in. Now, having said that, there are some entrance exams for pure sciences courses as well. I know I had mentioned in the beginning that most of the pure science courses will look at your 12th marks, but there is a certain set of really good colleges in India that will take an entrance exam. So, like I said, for mathematics, Indian Statistical Institute takes ISI 80. The courses that they offer is pure mathematics, statistics, or economics. You can pursue any one of them. In fact, if you really like numbers, you can keep that subject up till your PhD as well as some of these colleges. So you don't have to probably worry about where do I go and pursue my masters or where do I go and do my PhD. One of the best places to go and study numbers in India. ISER has 7 campuses. You can look at BSc research-based courses at ISER via its own entrance exam. They also consider the KV PY marks. NEST, Homi Bhabha Research Institute also, will take an entrance exams like NEST or NISER. AIMS paramedical courses, they have their own entrance tests. JIPMER for their paramedical courses also have their own entrance test. And of course, if you want to go and pursue some pure sciences or integrated courses at ISER and IISc, they consider your KVPY marks also. And some of the top colleges that you would see in pure sciences, while IISc Bangalore offers a 4-year Bachelor in Science program, they call it BS. It's others call it BSc. They consider your JE Advanced, your NEET, or your KVPY marks, any one of the three, depending on the kind of course you want to go and study in. Homi Bhabha looks at NEST exams. NISER also looks at NEST. KVPY for ISER. CU, CET, Central Universities, they have 10 campuses in India. Delhi and Mumbai University usually looks at 12 marks, but you have certain courses under DUET that you can also look at. At IIT, if you want to pursue some of the pure sciences courses, you can study, you'll have to take in the JEE mains, clear the JEE advance, and then get eligible for that. For BITS, Birla Institute of Technology, you have BITSAT for BSc courses as well. Shiv Nadar looks at SNU SAT. Azim Premji also has its own entrance process. Now, I'd like to go back to the first page. Now, I think I've discussed allied medical courses and medical sciences and discussed agriculture and food sciences as well. Now, under fitness, nutrition, and well-being, someone who's working at allied medical courses or medical sciences can also go and work there. Dietitian, nutrition also is basically under this. molecular biologists, biotechnologists, ecologists, I've already discussed under courses with biotechnology. So, like you've seen, that there are many, many career options available beyond choosing an MBBS if you like life sciences. In fact, I can tell you about a couple of courses which are very, very different. I had a friend in school who loved lizards. She now, I know, very weird. Someone who loves lizards, we used to keep away from her. She now is chasing lizards across the run of Kutch. She does research for Harvard. Uh, she is what we call a herpetologist, people who study reptiles. So even if you have a weird obsession, you have a career linked to it. So some people who have a very, very specific interest like studying birds, some people have been able to study birds and realize how birds are able to predict hurricanes and certain other natural calamities also. So there are a lot of impact, interdisciplinary sciences and very interesting areas that you can go for. So what I would like to say at this point in time is that any chapter that you're interested in any of these subjects in sciences, that will definitely open up a couple of doors for you. Do not only go for careers that everyone else is looking for, because you can create a niche for yourself in a certain area that no one else wants to study. Even if you're the only person who likes to study it, I'm sure there will be something or the other that's going to be opening up for you. As long as you're good at it, as long as you're interested, you'll definitely find some career or the other. However, I would say do not compare careers by the starting salary and the placements offered by colleges at graduation and undergraduation, because there are some careers that will expect you to complete your master's and PhD, especially in science, and there are some careers that might give you a starting job after your graduation as well. But that's not the best way to be able to compare both. I would say that if you are looking for employability immediately after grad, then yes, it might be important to focus on careers that courses that help you get employability immediately. But if you think that you want to go deeper, you want to get into research, then you're going at it at the long haul. Meaning you will have to give certain number of years. Sometimes it might be uh, 6 years for your graduation and masters, and another 5 to 6 years for your PhD. Some students choose to go abroad because sometimes the time taken to complete the PhD might be lesser because of the availability of equipment and raw materials. But that could be a call that you can decide on later. But at the moment, I would always say for 11th and 12th students, it's very important to figure out what chapters would open up what options. And of course, if you want to find out more information as well, you can go to the TCS ION website and you would find an option where you can take the psychometric assessment or the compass test. Uh, should you choose to get the complete report for that test, you will find or you will get access to a dashboard where you have about 550 different careers mentioned there. So even beyond the ones that I mentioned, there are a lot other careers that you can look at as well. Because we had a time limit, so we wanted to keep it short. But if you do have any questions for me, Prakhar, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, John. Thank you. So those are really interesting careers. I myself didn't know these many careers are available, especially in terms of research that you mentioned. And these are actually the careers which define what's going to come in our real life in the future, not just like what we're dealing right now. See, say example of the COVID vaccine we are talking about, and then even other things you have mentioned. These are really interesting. So there's a similar question that is coming on this line only by Ria Desai, class 9. She's asking, can I opt, you mentioned, both for microbiology and medical science streams?
So, if you want to become a doctor, you probably will have to take the MBBS. You can go and do a microbiology after you complete your MBBS as well. But if you do a microbiology later on, you cannot do an MBBS after that because you have a certain age limit for the NEET exam. So one way to do it is if you want to study to become a doctor, but also want to work in research, you'll have to complete the NEET exam. Same answer goes for psychiatry as well. I mean, psychiatry also is a course where you can do only after your MBBS is done. Similarly, molecular biology, microbiology, preferably complete your MBBS first and then go a specialization in microbiology.
Great, great. Thank you. I hope that answers the question. So there's another question that is coming from Laria Singh. So I'm in class 9th and I'm aspiring anesthesiologist. I want to go to study in USA. So is it important for me to take MCAT? And is it good to go to USA or should I study in India as well? That is additional question that was coming from others. So I merged them. Yeah.
Okay. So, see, if you're looking to pursue as a practicing doctor, US takes a lot longer than India to complete your course. Like for example, in India, you have a 5.5 year MBBS course. If you look at UK and US, you have pre-med. You have to complete your pre-med, then complete your medical course, then complete your residential. So you have internship that is mandatory after that, so that you are able to build your skills. So you take a lot longer to become a doctor in the US than you do in India. Uh, Also, the courses are slightly more expensive as well. Whether it is better or not, of course, I would say depending on what type of course you're actually going for, uh, and which college you're going from, I would say all of these courses are very good. I mean, India and abroad, I have seen doctors who studied in India and gone and worked abroad. But ultimately, if you want to practice as a doctor in any country, you have to take an entrance exam for that. Like for India as well, you have an exam that you have to clear if you want to practice here. If you want to practice in a different country, they have their own exams as well that you have to clear so that you can practice there. So entrance exams are absolutely necessary. But if you're looking at working as an anesthesiologist, then there are BSc programs where you can work as a technician. But if you want to become a doctor who has a specialization in that area, then you have to complete your MBBS, then do your specialization in that segment. But there are radiology technicians, anesthesiologists who are, pursued their BSc programs as well and are working with hospitals and doctors regularly. So there are two ways to be able to look at it. So fundamental question right now is whether what type of time you want to spend completing your course, and of course the economics also is a question that you have to ask yourself whether I can afford this course as opposed to outside. Because if you're looking at overseas, of course, courses are more expensive, but you also have an additional living expense as well that you'll have to consider. So I feel, without actually knowing your conditions or your aspirations and what is the exact area you're looking at, it would be a little difficult to give you a very generic answer. So it would be best if you consult a counselor, someone who would be able to gauge whether an overseas option would be best, would also be able to understand what type of skill sets you will need to work on, what type of preparation you require, because you're at class 9 right now. There will be certain things that you'll have to work on right from now so that you're able to get into college in the US after 12th. Or else your preparation, if you want to do your masters in the US and do your graduation in India, even that is a very good option as well. In fact, that is what most of our counselors actually recommend to students, that do your graduation in India. And if you feel a certain course is not available at masters or PG in India, then pursue that course outside, because you might find certain countries where, like Europe, for example, many countries in Europe have UG programs, PG programs where the tuition fees is almost zero. You're not paying anything. It's only the stay and the books that you're paying for. US, of course, it's slightly more expensive. There are hardly any courses that will be completely free. You will have stay expenses or fees expenses, but I think it might make sense for you to consult a counselor and understand exactly which pathway would be best for you, because I can't say that the same pathway would be best for everybody. So I hope that somehow answered the question, Prakar.
So thank you. I hope that certainly answer the question. So John, just like in the previous webinar, Pamita was discussing about some neutral careers that are there. The careers which students from both arts, commerce students can take. Similarly, there are some careers which even science students can come in and pitch in those careers themselves. So maybe can we put some specific light on those careers which are available out there for science students?
Sure. So for interdisciplinary science courses, I will talk to you about ones that are available in the science domain, outside the science domain as well. So outside the science domain, you have careers like law, where you can work in from IPR law, intellectual property rights. You will have to be a science student to be able to pursue IPR law. You have to have science till class 12, and preferably if you take a BSc LLB course or a BLLB course, also you can go in, but you have to have a science background for that. Similarly, there are places like energy law as well. While energy law is open to you from any stream, uh, people who have specialized in energy law, I've spoken to some of them and they've told me that if I knew how power is generated, I can probably help with the tariff system better. Or if someone is exploiting a certain state, or they're charging citizens of a certain state a higher amount, if I know how energy is generated per unit, I know the technicals of it, I can actually fight those cases a little better. That knowledge never goes for waste. Now, coming to the science specific courses which are interdisciplinary, agriculture is one of them which already accepts PCM, PCB students both. Biotechnology is again PCM, PCB, both areas you can go in from. If you take the mathematics, you have BTech, biotech that is available to you. Nanotechnology again is some of the students who are interested in nanotech should definitely watch YouTube videos by Richard Feynman on nanotechnology. Nanotechnology was talked about at least 50 or 60 years ago, right? Now we think about it as a futuristic career, but in reality, nanotechnology, all of these elements were stuff that people talked about many, many years ago, at least 40, 50 years ago. And it's only now that we have the kind of technology to be able to teach those courses in school. We have equipment which is cheap enough to bring to college as well, because sometimes because certain equipment is too expensive, some colleges are not able to afford very advanced equipment. But I still feel a lot of colleges in India do have very good labs. So whether you're today, I'll give you an example of my own sister who is doing research in cancer. She wanted to become a doctor, did not get a medical seat, did microbiology, did biotech in masters, and is doing a PhD from IISc Bangalore in biochemistry. So she is trying to figure out a solution to how cancer could be killed or could be worked on through medication. In her team, there are engineers who work, there are mathematicians, there are people who come with a background in BSc zoology, there are people who come with a background in medicine. So she told me that my research team is basically a team of people who have different specialization areas, that they have different things to offer. Otherwise, the whole research will not function. So if you're looking at research in the long term, most types of research are interdisciplinary sciences. If let's say I want to work with medicines, it doesn't mean that physics and chemistry is not going to impact how I make medicines. Chemistry is a very important part of the kind of chemicals you put in that medicine. But physics also is very important, because heat, light, energy, electricity, how they impact living cells, I have to know that as well. Right. So in that sense, I would say anyone who's looking at research in the long term, all types of research will expect you to have expertise in all the sciences in some sense or the other. But of course, yes, you have nanotech, pharmacology, where biomaths, bioinformatics, where biomaths both is important. Uh, Biotechnology, biomaths is both is important. So you have many areas like that that could open up. If there are students who are thinking about it, that I want to have an exposure in multiple areas, uh, especially if you're in class 9 and 10, uh, please ensure your basics in science and mathematics this year is fixed, or this year is fine, so that the 11th and 12th syllabus you can pursue should you want to do something as challenging as PCMB. So when you're looking at interdisciplinary courses, I would say that better to keep maths and bio both if you're able to do it. It's not a cup of tea for everybody. Sometimes I know there are certain students who take on challenges like, I will try for NEET and engineering both. And I know a very few handful of students who are able to crack both. Not everybody can. So to that sense, I would say that science by its own nature is an interdisciplinary area. You can't only study physics and go in there. Like any physicist today will tell you that, I need to understand why a certain gas burns at a certain temperature, so that I know how far that star is from this galaxy. So they need to understand chemistry as well if I want to go for astrophysics. So that way, usually the answers that I get from most of the guys who are into science and who are scientists, who are researchers right now, they say that please tell students that, because they made these mistakes as well. I know some of the guys from my own school who told me that if I would have studied this subject better in school, I think now I would not have so many problems when I'm doing research. So all of that, they tell me the same thing, that please take all the subjects very seriously now, because these basics are very, very essential so that you're able to do well later. So there are multiple departments that open up, and most of these areas will open up to you at this masters, at the PG level. At graduation, unfortunately, I know that while it might seem that there are many courses available, masters you have far more number of courses available. You have PG diploma courses as well, which are short term. You have long term courses. You have PhD options, of course, but it keeps diversifying the longer you study the subject. So there will be a point where the student can decide, okay, I want to study only this specific area. At PhD, you can decide that you want to study only this area. You can focus only on that. But still there, you will have multiple subjects coming together.
Right, right. Precisely. That was very insightful, actually. Thank you, John, for that. There was some point you were brushing upon when you were saying for students who are in class 9th and 10th, they should actually look out for kind of a wider spectrum right now with respect to PCMB. Still it being a challenging subject, but they can still look out for. There are questions with respect to choosing boards as well for pursuing their class 11th and 12th. I have a question from Suhas Bharadwaj who is saying, which board should I take after class 10th? Should I take the state board or CBSE board? As they are both advantages and disadvantages of these. Can you please help me, sir? And he is studying from PUC, state board.
Pre-university college. Okay. So that's a very good question. That's a very common question I also get as a counselor. There is probably no right and wrong answer to that question, but I'll give you the purpose of how the curriculum was designed. When you look at the curriculum, how it is designed for science, whether you're looking at the state board or the CBSE board or the ISE board, it is all designed in a way that you can still take the JEE exam. You can still take the common entrance exam no matter what board you go for, because the test is designed by the NTA, which is the National Testing Agency. They have given a very stringent syllabus that okay, if you want your students to pursue engineering, this is the course syllabus that I want students to be prepared for. So all the boards have identical syllabus for science, whether you go for state or you go for CBSE. However, there are some states that give you a preference if you have taken the state board, but not all states have that option. Some states, if you, let's say, if you want to be eligible for as a domicile, let's say in Delhi also, they have a very strict rule, because a couple of years ago, I came to know that certain parts of Gurgaon, if you're staying in, you will not fall under the Delhi domicile. So, depending on which part of the city or which part of the state you're staying in, it doesn't really matter if you're taking a certain board or the other, as long as you've stayed in that area for that amount of time. So if you're looking at advantage of taking the state board so that I get into the state, quota for colleges, there are only few handful of ones which will actually say very stringently that you have to take this. But you can take either one or the other. It will prepare you the same way for your JEE exam or for your entrance test. The same goes for biology as well. If you're looking at the NEET exam, the PCB, physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics syllabus for a CBSE for state is not very different. But you can take a call as well, depending on, I would say better to take a call on basis how well is the school teaching you those subjects. If you have better teachers in a certain area, better to go for that so that your basics are at least clear. So, Prakhar, I hope that answered the question.
So thank you, John. I think this was a really fruitful session, and I hope all our participants would have taken down their notepads and pens and would have written a lot of. I think must have filled 2 pages, 3 pages at least with the information you have provided. Thank you, John. That was really helpful. It was an honor and pleasure of having you here. Thank you, participants, for your presence. We wish you a great success in your future endeavor. John, anything you would like to say in the end?
No, I would just like to say thank you for giving the opportunity, Prakhar and the TCS team. It has been fantastic interacting with all of you. And if you do have any queries, you know where to go. You can go to the TCS IIM website, of course. And happy to work with all of you and happy to connect with everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Thank you.